is Steve with Elev8, and today we got EBox on Elev8. Super exciting. This guy makes some crazy great recyclers. You need to check him out. Before we get into that, I want to mention we got a really cool thing. Elev8 Veterans, it's our 501c3 nonprofit, and Elev8 Dolls, it's our brand ambassador program. Both programs you can join, lots of fun, and more importantly, they help us out a ton. Anyways, let's go hang out and check out EBox. All right, we got EBox here. Thank you so much for joining us on this Elev8, and welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So first question is, how did you get into this thing, this glass blowing, this thing of love here?
That's the best question, man. I love telling the story. So in 2010, I've always loved glass. I grew up at the beach in Jacksonville, Florida. And, you know, big inspirations of mine were Lance Sanford, Nate Myers, Micah Evans, Brian Noss. These are people that all developed in the Jacksonville beach area right next to a Taco Bell, right beachside on A1A. And, you know, like that going to the store and buying a pipe back then was going into Black Sheep Surf Shop or Slacker Surf Shop, where you had to go to the back of the store and you had to be 18 years old to get into like a little cubby of theirs to go and look at the JBDs and the Skies and all the different heavies and different bongs they had. And, you know, I watched the whole thing develop, and this is before I blew glass. So I always had a love and a passion for it. And it introduced me, you know, to coming out to music festivals. In 2010, I came out here to Red Rocks to see String Cheese Incident. They're my favorite band. And, I
at the best center you could see him at. I would have to say,
yeah, at the best center you could see him at, their home area, man. So I coincidentally met a guy through a friend named Mike Chansey, who is a big player on the Toke City network back in the day in the forums. That's how I got started. You know, Glass Market Toke City was the first thing before Facebook, Instagram. So he introduced us, and this guy made inline bubblers, you know, very much after Steve Hops. Him and Hops were known for the inline bubbler. So that's where I got a lot of my inspiration, is meeting him. And he lived coincidentally so close to me in Florida, to where after I got out of school every day when I went to college, I would just go over to his house and became great friends with Sasha Hess and his wife, Tanner Hess. And they paved my road, man, and showed me the way on how to coil pot at first. You know, I remember breaking a nail one night when we were dabbing, and they wanted to put me on the torch to go make a new nail, just fucking with me. And I was like, no way. And like, I got on the torch, and that was the first thing I ever did. I got a picture of it till this day. I'll give you the picture so you can post it up on here.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I still have my first little dish I made, my first little oil dish. The first thing I ever made for myself, other than that nail, was a coil potted oil dish, because we used to run a bunch of BHO back in the day. Yeah. And, you know, just scrape it up, put it in an oil dish, take hot glowy dabs off of HMK cut curves. You know, like this is how I got started. So that's kind of sums it up. You know, I give a lot of credit to Sasha Hess and, you know, getting me started in this industry and really showing me the light of the forums and the big types of equipment out there, and showing me the people who look up to and the OGs of this industry. And, you know, it's really been a blessing. It really has been. So much love to Sasha Hess, man. You always got to give credit where credit's due. And that guy has really paved my road.
That's
quite
awesome
a bit
to hear.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. How did you get your glass name?
EBox Glass came from Sasha's wife, Tanner. I had a Wicca keef box. If you remember what they were, it was a thing you grind up weed over to roll your joint. It was the double screen silk screen keef box that collected really nice keef. So she just wrote EBox on it, E-box, and put a date up there next to it. And they still own it till this day. And I'm named after a keef box. We called me EBox, and they had a friend named Lunchbox that blows glass, so they kind of related it to that. So the guy Lunchbox is actually here in Colorado. I'm not sure if he still blows glass or not, but he made some pretty fucking sweet marbles back in the day when I knew him.
Wow, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
So how long have you been on the torch then? You said you started about 2010?
Yeah. The first time I ever touched glass was 2010. And then you know, it was like kind of like me just going over to Sasha's house and kicking it and getting on the torch and helping him in the studio to clean up or doing what I can to be helpful. and they were just great people and great friends that just enlightened me to this industry, like I said. So it was like I wanted to go over there every day after school. And eventually I told my parents. I was living with my parents and going to school at the time, and I was going to school at UNF, University of North Florida. So I was doing glass, kind of starting my development with it at Sasha's. And I told them I wanted to build a little studio and do it at the house. And they told me that they would let me take over this back patio bathroom where where the pool was, and had air conditioning. And, in Florida, you got to have that type of thing. So, I mean, I was like, all right, let's try it. So I got a little Paragon F120 kiln. I bought a GTT Lynx torch, and I took up the sink and put the kiln on there, and we used a little grow hood with a fan, and I had running off the K tanks that I'd have a guy that was really nice that'd bring them by for me. And that was the first of it, man, is like my, just kind of blowing glass in the back patio bathroom, learning the development of this glass, and kind of just making patterns at first and learning milli and things like that at the very beginning.
What were you going to school for?
I went to school for international business and political science. So I have 2 bachelor's degrees, and that's what I have, man, is international business and political science. And, I kind of used to have it be a passion of mine, being involved in the politics, and I kind of persuaded myself out of it. I wanted to have more freedom. It wasn't about how much money I can necessarily make. It was about me having ultimate freedom of what I wanted to do when I woke up every day. And I didn't want to have my life dictated by the government or the man. And even though I was passionate about it, I chose the opposite side of the spectrum. And, now I'm making pieces that I love and getting to meet people like you, and going and travel all over the world and country to go and do glass events and trade shows. I mean, I couldn't have chose a better path, man. Like I'm very happy with this adventure I'm on. It's not a job, it's an adventure. It's something that is much more than a job. And I blessed every day I get to get on that torch.
Yeah, I love how you put it. I say that all the time as well. Like, it's an adventure, and that's what we get. And it's choose your own path. And it sounds like you're really happy picking the glass, and it definitely, I'm sure, was not easy. Your stuff is beautiful. It looks clean. It's fire. It looks like you were born with the ability, but I'm sure that's not the case.
I never was artistic. I couldn't draw. I really wasn't that good at clay. I really wasn't good at very many things, artwork, but something about glass stood out to me. And my parents always collected Swarovski crystals and soft glass vases and glass flowers in their dining room, and always went and bought little glass things all the time. So like, glass has always been in my life. My dad's always collected it and always talked about it. And it just seemed like it was naturally for me. And, it's unbelievable, man. It really is.
Well, I'm glad you took that path, and I'm sure all your fans are really happy you took that path too. Hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you have a mentor when you started, or did you just kind of go off your own, off the books?
Well, when I started, obviously my mentor, or the person who taught me, I told you, was Sasha Hess. And then from Sasha, it kind of developed to me getting my own studio in Florida, pursuing my artwork in that little bathroom studio. And then I evolved it into my parents' garage because it got bigger, and they saw that I was talented with it. They let me take over more of a portion of the house. And during that time, I started traveling out to Colorado again. I had a friend going here to CSU, Colorado State University, here in Fort Collins. And he became good friends. I linked up him and Joel Halen together, the guy who makes the Halen honey bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel Halen and I had a thing going, man, where we worked together for years. I mean, I was making Encalmo tubes with him, line work tubes with him. We were pulling custom back stacks together. We were constantly making flower pieces, working with all the new colors together, lighting fires under each other's asses to kind of do collaborative work. So I guess as the mentor that really drove me into making this a real life career adventure, every outlook of it was probably Joel Halen. Man, he's done so much for me, and that guy is like a brother, and he's a gem of a person. He really is. He's done nothing but the brightest things for me in my artwork, and showed me how to get precise wall thickness, how to get things hot correctly, how to use a lathe. I mean, I can go on and on, and the guy has literally shown and developed my skills tenfold. And like I said, man, giving credit where credit is due is very important in this industry. And I hold those people, Sasha Hess and Joel Halen, very close to my heart for where I am today.
Fresh, man. Thanks for letting us know about that. And yeah, Joel, he's really pushing the industry, I think, as well. That's
Definitely.
really awesome. You got to work with him.
Definitely, man. And when I first moved here, there was some choices of who I wanted to be in studio with and work with, but I was coming out here to collaborate already with Joel when I first moved, when I was thinking about moving here. And it was like a family. It was like I didn't want to be anywhere else. I wanted to be with my family. And that's how I felt at Joel Halen's studio. It felt like I had support, a friend that would take his shirt off his back if I ever needed it, support me if I ever needed it. Whether, we were working together. This wasn't like a sole proprietor thing. This was us thriving and lighting a fire under each other's asses. And I'll never forget those times.
Hell yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What classes have you taken? And then if you have taken any, do you feel they helped you, and would you recommend them?
So I personally haven't really taken very many classes in my career. I've done a lot of collaborative work, and through those collaborative work and just discussions I've had talking to different artists, that's where I find a lot of my inspirations and my skills and my skill set. But if, with glass, it's like you said, I don't know if it's a natural talent or something, but I look at a piece of glass and I try to figure out how it's made, and I, whenever I try to innovate on something or try to make something more original, you have to use those innovations and use that skill set. And I think that taking classes is a great thing to do. And I just personally had not dived into taking classes yet, but people I do want to take classes from would be, some of my inspirations are Boro Benjamin, Yushin,
Yeah.
Alex Ubatuba, Adam G, Buck. These are people that I highly, highly look up to, that I would love to take classes from one day, or get to, just even talk glass with them, because that's what I've noticed about glass is just even a discussion or a conversation can enlighten you to a new technique, or enlighten
Absolutely.
you to a way to do a technique there, or a way to perform that technique easier, so that's what I've learned about glass. It's not always about just taking a class. It's about discussing it, shooting the shit with these people, talking about your glass and their glass, and feeding off of each other. And that's what this industry is. We all feed off each other.
Absolutely. It's all, it's really like glass secrets, and then we find them. And then, it's like, I want your secret. And then if I got a secret, it's almost like, let's share, because we both get to grow and stuff. So that's really neat.
Right. And, it used to be, I want to say a more secretive community, but the people who are known for what they're known for now have really come out, and it's come to light, so Bob Snodgrass, for instance, will always be known for that fuming,
Yeah.
That's just a big example out there. It's like that fume Snodgrass is always going to be something that people look up to because of that gold and silver that crossed the flame and created colors, and
it's so crazy how like that guy kind of was, you can't really say he started the glass pipe, but he definitely helped bring the glass pipe and open it up to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wild thing to think about, man. This industry has grown from seeing us being almost abolished by the government during Operation Pipe Dreams, to where we are now, with pipes sitting all the way up to the $100,000, $200,000 range.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just see this, as marijuana and cannabis start to get more accepted through our nation and worldwide. Glass has not even hit the surface of what it could be and what it's going to be. And that's why I love where we're at, is that we're a part of something that is growing. You see a lot of people investing in cryptocurrencies nowadays, or stocks nowadays, and doing those things. And I'm not going to say I don't do those things myself, but I think that the best investment nowadays for me is putting it into my glass.
I agree 100%. It's a really neat thing. Glass has been around for thousands and thousands of years. You go back to the Egyptian time, and glass blowers were on a pedestal up there with the kings and queens.
You're right. And it's a great thing that you just brought up there. I'm actually Jewish, and I'm a very spiritual practicing Jew. And, there's things about glass that relate to Judaism quite a bit, because we grew up in our bloodline grew up in the desert where sand evolved, and sand has been melted by Jewish glassmakers, Romans, in all desert areas since the beginning of humankind. I mean, they've been learning how to melt sand into glass since the beginning of time, and that's what it is. This goes back ages and ages and ages, and now we're seeing innovations like we've never thought before in color companies, tool companies, and all different types of things to help us thrive as artists, and it's unbelievable.
It's fun, you know, all that. And then with the digital technology, it's just like a little nuclear glass bomb going off, and just the fusion of neatness is happening right before us right now in this time. It's neat.
It is, man. It's an amazing thing, you know. I mean, yeah. Pipes are, I think, I saw it in Degenerate Art years ago when I watched the movie. It was it was Dosh World, that said, it's not only, you know, a piece of art, it's something that somebody gets to use and have experiences with and share with other people.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that we're doing within this pipe world that are touching people in different ways and making them happy, and using their favorite item that they've ever had in their life, or this piece has a story behind it, or how they got it, or the connections they made through it. I mean, there's a lot that goes into these pieces, and there's a lot of energy knowing that I create them. There's just a tremendous amount of energy that goes into making a piece of borosilicate glass. So I commend all artists that are going about doing this, and I keep thriving.
Crazy.
Keep thriving if you're a collector, an artist within this industry, a shop. Like I said, this borosilicate hasn't even touched the ceiling nearly, because we're still in they still look at marijuana as a Schedule I narcotic in this country.
It's not like crazy. You got some states it's legal for rec and medical, and then some it's like you're a felon and you're the worst person in the world for a plant that was given to us by the nature and the God. It's like, it's crazy.
Sure, and I think the times are changing. You know, I have a conviction on my record for marijuana.
Me too.
Yep, a lot of us can say that. And I have a feeling that times will change, and I have a positive outlook that, you know, things will eventually make it to a way of showing that this plant is harmless, and that there's no need for convictions for people to have on their record for obtaining cannabis for nonviolent crimes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Where do you get the inspiration for your creativity in glass?
All over the place, man. Going out to the river, going out to nature a lot, you know, like just psychedelics. I grew up taking psychedelics, going to shows, going to concerts. So seeing all the hallucinations, the things that I've experienced in life. You know, I'm a big surfer, and, you know, I feel like glass.
Where do you surf in Colorado?
Well, I love Colorado because it's got its seasons. So there's nowhere I surf here, but my favorite place is to surf all over the place, man. I take surf trips pretty frequently. You know, we go out to Nicaragua, Costa Rica, California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like surfing nice waves. That's one of my favorite things. And what I was saying is that one thing I love about glass, and like where I get my inspiration in it, and like why I want to do it all the time and I love it, is that when I'm out there surfing, it's me in the ocean, it's me in that wave. You're focused. There's nothing else you can think about. You're about to have a big wave come. I mean, that's all in your mind. It's that wave. And the same thing when you're blowing glass, man. It's like you're getting involved in the piece, and you become more comfortable as you start working the piece, and it develops into this item, you know, this structure that you created. And it puts you in the zone. It makes you think about just what you're doing. You know, you can't think about anything else. And that's what I really love, and have gives me a lot of inspiration, is like things that put me in the zone, whether it's glass blowing, surfing, skiing, playing the guitar. I mean, all these things put you in the moment. And that's what I strive in life, is to be put in that moment that gives me serenity, peace, joy, happiness. You know, that's
it's almost like you're finding life meditations, and you go surfing. That's a form of meditation. Praying, glass blowing, same thing. That's cool.
Sure. Absolutely, man. The search for meditation is a good way to put it.
What are your favorite things to blow? Pipes, rigs, pendants? I see you do a lot of recyclers and stuff.
Yeah, man. My favorite things to make, I would say I love making prep work, like anything like a vac stack, a milli, any type of prep work. The piece and assembly, I also have, I love making them as far as relaxation, not having to think, almost like mindless entertainment of just playing with the glass and being creative. The prep work is, and the end result is all in your prep in the end. So it's really, I love the prep work, man. I love making blowouts. I love making sleeves. I love doing backstacks, milli, all these different techniques to perfect and get a nice quality prep at the end. I mean, it just makes you feel good, you know? And then as far as like my pieces go, I would say some of my favorite pieces are, recyclers. I really do like making them. They're interesting to make, and they take a lot of
fucking hard.
They take some technical skill to make clean, to get things to bend right, to get things to line up the way that you want them to. When you start to incorporate patterns, like I just did one with new glass. We just finished. It came out of the kiln today. I just posted up on my story. I'll be getting photos soon. That one had Molten Aura's Neptune and a bunch of his milli in it. So, I mean, already dealing with a stiff color that you're having to sleeve. And then from there, his milli sections, they were thick, beautiful sections that I had to then puff out by hand. After I puffed them out by hand, I incorporated them into the piece on the lathe, blew them out again. I mean, there was a lot of technique within those sections he gave me already. And then hot working them into the piece is just making them into the recycler was a trip, man. It's like you're on a journey through the experience of putting it together, you know?
Right. Yeah. And, just if you haven't worked with color, just each piece, clear has its viscosity.
Yeah.
Other colors, another. Some are harder.
Right.
Some are
so
softer.
a lot of these colors nowadays that people love, like myself included, like the Royal Jelly, the Neptune, the Tele Magenta, these high end molten aura colors, man, they're beautiful colors, but they are extremely saturated and dense. Like these are like hard rocks if you let them stable up and get hard, and like that's the big thing about them is that I just, become accustomed to working them because I really love the color. But at first, I had some trouble working these colors and learning them because they were so much different from the palette that I was used to growing up from the North Star Glass Alchemy. A lot of those colors they would make not only to look beautiful, but be workable to the glass blower. Not to say that molten auras aren't workable. They're just a little bit more on the dense side to work comparatively to other colors. And the clarity is incredible once the end result comes.
Right. And like anything, you get what you pay for, and quality is.
You really do. I mean, glass color is something, like I said, like as an innovation to this industry. And when you think about it, there's not very many color companies out there. You have North Star Glass, we have Glass Alchemy, we have Troutman Glass.
Well, and North Star just bought Troutman, so they're one now.
Yep, they're one. So, and we have Molten Aura. So, I mean, when you think about it, there's not too many of us and too many color companies supplying us. So there is a limited demand for this, limited supply of this stuff, and it gives off a high demand. And it's not as easy as people think to create color companies. There's lots of environmental regulations that go into it that people don't really understand, or lots of research and development of how to use these chemicals to be able to formulate these colors. I mean, it's really unbelievable what they're providing us with as an artist just to start nowadays. I mean, it's
magic.
It is. It's magic. It's alchemy. It's true alchemy.
Yeah. What is your favorite color to work with?
To work with or to look at?
I guess let's answer both of those.
All right. To work with, I would say North Star Yellow. It's the easiest color. It is so absolutely pretty and gorgeous if you work it right. You really can do a lot with that color as far as leaving it on the surface, sleeving it, layering it. It has so much versatility. If I had to choose one color in the palette to have the rest of my life, that's the one color I would choose. My favorite color to look at, not to work though, is probably Royal Jelly. I mean, when it comes down to it, like is that real? Is that is that color real?
It's crazy sexy.
The most beautiful purple I've ever seen in my life. And when I get done working it and I see it, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like looking at a purple opal.
Yeah. So with those two colors as your favorite, what color would you just pass up? And you don't need that
pass
anymore.
Up? Oh, probably any of the old Glass Alchemy greens, like tree hugger, shamrock, any of those, man. I can't work any of them. I crack or check or bubble up anything I work with it. So I just stay away from those colors.
Yeah, the old school greens are pretty nasty, and the new ones are better.
Yeah, like the Roswell, the timber, things like that.
Those are fire.
The certain greens I still have to work with to keep opacity for milli or thumbprints or things of that nature. So I'm using, a lot of time like jade green or forest green, not for milli, but for my thumbprints. And just to keep opacity, I'll put them in back stacks too. Mm-hmm. And, those are greens that I still work with, but those old chemistry glass alchemy greens, those are probably going to be the ones I throw away.
Oh yeah. What's the most difficult piece that you've ever attempted?
The most difficult piece I've ever attempted. Just recently, I made I've started this, it's derived off of Nate Dizzle's Swiss perk. I made a floating Swiss drain recycler, and that's been probably the hardest challenging piece for me to make as of lately because of how I'm making the Swiss connect to the base, doing all the holes, putting the I'm doing drains on the side now to where there's 3 drains on the piece.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I've definitely just learned new techniques of how to assemble just making that piece alone. So I would say that was probably the Swiss V2 is the most technical. And the first one of those went to the 1K show, and it sold. So I was really happy about the result of that piece.
Oh, yeah. What do you consider to be the most challenging style or piece to blow?
Probably anything with internals in it. Anything that has a circ inside of it. Anything for me that has, when I see people throwing these funnels on the inside, or people making pieces inside pieces, or, seeing a lot of internal work, it really still it's a task. It's something that I look up to. I haven't done a lot of experimenting with yet, and I've definitely put some perks in. I've attempted some funnels inside, and I just haven't gotten to the point yet where I feel comfortable releasing that work until I find a comfortability of making it look as clean as I desire.
Right, and as your skills advance, it takes a little longer for to bring your piece out because you have a certain standard you got to set forth now. So
right. I mean, unless I can make something that I believe is a first quality piece, I don't want my name on it. And so, a lot of the pieces, if I don't like, I keep, or I give to family or friends to use or something like that. I won't, ever want to put out something that is not up to par. It's something that's going in a shop. It's going in a collector's hand that's paying for it. It needs to be a certain, standard.
And so I think that's what people sometimes need to understand too, is that as you become this beautiful artist, that your pieces sometimes isn't just, oh, this took 10 hours, so it's X amount. It took me 2 other pieces to get to this, or to refine it, or 6 pieces. And that's why this piece is worth what it's worth.
Sure. And that's the big, when somebody asks how long a glass blower's been blowing glass for, you could tell them you've been blowing glass since a certain year, but it's really not the amount of years you've been doing it. It's about the amount of hours you put in on the torch, and how long you've actually sat behind there with inspiration of what you desire to make, or being experimental with just playing and sculpting, or whatever it is you desire to make, and that's what I'm getting at, is that there's a lot of artists who've been out there for blowing glass for years, but they haven't kept up with their art. They haven't kept up with the industry. They can still blow glass, but they haven't put in the amount of hours that you need to become a well-rounded, well-known artist now. It seems like people nowadays, you have to have a lot of motivation, a lot of work and drive to be able to get on the torch and really put yourself in a situation that makes you want to work and gives you the inspiration, because doing something every single day of your life, and no matter what it is, you have to keep innovating to make it new to you. You have to keep innovating to bring new happiness and joy or else you're stuck making production work in a sense, and you're stuck in your set ways. And at that point, you're looked at as more of a craftsman, you know?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put that. Um, what is the most amount of time you spent on a single piece? And I know like it takes all the years to get there. I always wonder like how long somebody's put in there because the longer you put in there, it feels like the more anxious you get because if something at the end happens, it's all this time.
Definitely. Can you say the question again?
Yeah, I guess how long have you what's the most amount of time you put into one piece?
Um, Most amount of time I probably ever put into a piece is probably I made a chaos recycler recently, and it took quite a while. There was sections I was scrapping and trashing, and
Mm,
like things that I just didn't turn out right, or because there was a lot of pattern work that I was trying to keep looking proper within the entire piece because it's all inside out or layered on top, and lots of you make chaos work. I mean, there's a milli here, there's swiggle there, there's a thumbprint there, there's fuming here. It's all uneven. So getting to make an evenly walled thickness piece I made him a chaos cup and a chaos recycler, and those two pieces were probably uh, they're quite a task.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the all the techniques and everything, putting that together, just
So I want to say probably like you asked how long those were probably making that set was probably like a 4 or 5 day project. Like I had to make all the sections and put them together. So I haven't really dove into like a month long heady or something like that or something, yet in my career. That's something I would love to do.
yeah, that's a big project to lay out and
Yeah, it is. I see people out there doing it. I really respect JDZ Glass is one of the artists I see like putting in work where he's just making a very, very unique sculptural piece of art. And that guy is definitely somebody I look up to as far as how he's perceiving his art and, uh, you know, just making creativity.
yeah. Do you collaborate often?
Probably not as much as I should, but I guess when you become a glassblower, I become a homebody, man. I work out of my house, and I have a studio here. I used to go to a studio. Now it's at the house. So I'm here a lot, and I have a dog. And a lot of the time, when I was doing a lot of my collaborative work, I didn't have as much responsibility as I have now. So I feel like nowadays I have not put in the effort to do as many collaborations, but I just got done with one recently. I just pulled out of the kiln with Moo Glass, and then also the next one up is Jerry Kelly. So I'm starting to work with some Millie artists, and that's like where a lot of my collector standpoint stems from too. Is I was a big Eric Krunk collector at the
Mhm.
very beginning of learning like the heady glass scene, and that was like my who I looked up to. So that's how like I say I make chaos work. A lot of my visions too and expression come derived off of those artists that were the OGs that innovated upon those techniques.
Hell yeah. Um, have you ever competed in any events?
I have not.
Do you
I've
ever
never competed.
would you ever
I mean,
like to, or do you like the
yeah,
pressure?
yeah. I think I definitely find myself competitive. Growing up, I played sports, things like that. So I definitely like the sense of competition, and I would love to get into an event. It seems like the past couple of years, events haven't really been a real thing, but it seems like they're coming back.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. They're a lot of neat to just watch the people. And same thing there. That's almost like if you want to take a class, go into an event. I've never had the chance to go to like a melt or those. I think they do one up in Chicago, and
Melt seems like a really good one. That's
yeah,
coming up. That's coming up too, and I've been considering Melt. Melt seems like a really fun event for a glass blower to just like we were talking about earlier, just meet, come talk to other glass blowers, collaborate on ideas. You can get bench space there and work together. I mean, it just
mhm,
seems like a glass frenzy, like so much fun.
yeah. Um, Do you use any of your own pieces when you smoke, or do
Yeah,
you use other people's?
I do. I use my own pieces and other people's, but typically I use like second quality pieces or collaborations I've made with others, or sometimes like a local friend of mine will come by and buy a piece and then leave it on the table, and I get to smoke it,
Yeah.
type of thing. So typically a mix. And then I also I have a shopmate, Torch Boro, and he also makes pieces. I get to hit his a lot. He makes little recyclers and full color recyclers, little minis and full size ones. So I've been, just hitting what he has around the house too.
Hell yeah.
So it's been nice to just have a different array of recyclers to hit lately. And one is that I've been hitting now is it's a North Star Yellow over pomegranate honey bubbler that I made for my friend Grant from Single. I think his MIP is called Small Batch Extracts.
And that's that yellow that you mentioned, and there's been a few blowers that I've got to interview that mention that yellow. So if you haven't tried it, give it a chance.
Yeah, I mean, the North Star Yellow is it is a color that you can do a lot with. I mean, there's applications like people ask me sometimes how I get the honey color on the honey pieces and things like that. Sometimes I layer it over one another. Sometimes it's just a blowout. Sometimes it's a coil pot. There's an array of things that you can do with North Star Yellow. And it's just such a beautiful color to work and easy to work. And it's compatible with a lot of different colors. It just is an amazing color.
Hell yeah. So since you do consume, do you prefer flower, or do you prefer concentrates, or you just love the cannabis plant?
Well, as cannabis has evolved, I guess there's a multitude of different products out there now, especially out here in Colorado. And I would say my favorite way to smoke is probably a donut. If you haven't tried one, it's making like a noodle doink, like 710 Labs does with the noodle at the end. I like making a fire joint with moting out the middle of the center and rolling a little log of oil or rosin, full spectrum, and throwing that in the center and rolling it up. I mean, that gets you. That's my favorite.
So you like smoking joints kind of with a mixture of everything.
Yeah, so definitely, man. I'm not a big I'll take a bong rip like out of my little mini JBD I've had since college. But that's like just while I'm working, I'll go and take a bong rip or just a snap if I need a quick snap or something. But typically I'm not a big bong guy. I really like to smoke flower out of joints, and I really like, like I told you, my favorite way to smoke is those donuts, but I do dab. Like I like to smoke a really good high-end rosin. I love GMO. Chem D, anything chem, I'm a huge fan of. And I'm just old school, I don't like a lot of Skittles is another flavor. I'm a huge Skittles slut. It's one of my favorite strains in the world. But yeah, man.
What can we look forward to in the future from you?
Well, in the future, I want to keep making my work, keep developing, keep going, making recyclers, innovating upon internals, like I told you, finding new designs and new ways to make the designs function in different ways. So making different versions of them, so like, I guess another thing that I've been thinking about, and like I was talking about, is that there's not very many color companies out there. And I would love to start, not a big one, but see if it's possible within my glass career to start a small batch color company. Something that is unique to my own, that has its own unique color palette, something small batch and small and limited for people to be able to buy and artists to be able to buy and be able to provide to the community. And I think that's what my ultimate goal is whether it's a color company. I've had thoughts of a glass school, I've had lots of different things because I love to teach. I've had people come here to take classes before. So, I mean, those are things that I think about in my mind and what I would like to do with it, with my glasses, teach, make color, innovate my glass with internals and starting to, think about how I can up it to the next level. And those are aspirations of mine for the next level, next step.
Oh yeah. And it goes back to where you were talking about that you just really love prep. And what's the ultimate prep other than, mixing some color up?
Right. Exactly. And that's, I think, like I said, there's a lot of things, like I told you, like I've been researching that go into a color company to make it a legitimate company. And I think that's what what scares a lot of people away from it, and that's why it is such a limited batch resource, and why there's so few companies, is that, you know, there's a lot of, you know, cadmium and silver and gold and copper and all of these different lead and, you know, things that are put into these glasses that are, you know, essentially harmful to the environment.
Uranium.
Right, uranium. We love UV glass. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I'm trying to say, is that, you know, you have to be the certain mindset person to make that your life and want to experiment and dabble into that. And that's why there's so few companies out there willing to do it. And, I mean, you go back all the way to North Star. Look at Abe. You know, Abe Fleischman. I commend that guy. I mean, look, he was a glass blower, just like me. You know, he always made color. They were always experimenting and innovating together. You know, all the whole Darby, Buck, Abe crew. I remember them from back in the day. The International Hot Glass Invitational, old events. You know, I remember these guys from, and they've always been innovating, and they constantly do. And like I said, Abe till this day is not only just making these new colors that he's coming out with and experimentals, but he's keeping his classic color palette. So that's super respectable.
Absolutely.
For people who want to go and buy their jet black, for people who want to go and buy the cherry, the lava, all these different old colors that they offer. I respect that they keep those things going, because those are the palette that started with them, and the palette that's going to continue, because people know the color and the color works. And it works good.
And even they have struggles. I was talking to them because you mentioned, you know, even the cherry. And if you've noticed, the new cherry, it's gotten brighter and almost poppier.
They've made their cadmium so much better.
It's better, but some of the colors, like, they can't get that dark red again. And I was talking to them, and that's because just the world is changing, and their old supplier of the cadmium no longer exists. So they
you're saying the shade of the color has changed slightly.
Slightly, yeah. You can't get that dark cherry anymore. It's a real vibrant, bright cherry. And then, you know, I was talking to them, and they said it's just their supplier. They changed, and so, you know, they have this in their technique, and they had it so dialed down. And then this little raw material slightly changes here, so now they have to come back and tweak it to get what you want, your palette back to that. And so, you know, it's everybody fighting and coming back.
The reason I say I love their new cadmiums is because I feel like their workability. I work some of the cadmiums on the surface when I make my Latticino prep, and I mean, they melt in great. You know,
it's
for the way
far superior.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find that you still have the same passion today that you did as when you first started?
Absolutely. I think that it's a different type of passion. I think that when I first started, you know, it was very new to me. And like anybody else who gets into anything, whether you're going to a show for the first time and seeing a band, or whether you're doing a sport for the first time, it's something very new and exciting. But like I said, it's the innovation and trying new techniques, trying new pieces, trying new things that keeps my interest sparked in it, to make me want to strive more and keep working more and work harder towards this. Versus when I first started, it just seemed all so new to me that it was all so exciting. It was almost like a flood of excitement, you know. And right now it's very exciting in the point of when I innovate something, I get that same joy comes back. Or when I go in, when I can't wait to open the kiln because I just made a new piece that, you know, I can't wait to function test it or something. I still get that same energy today as I did when I first started. But I would say that, well, you know, when you first start, like I said, it's brand new. I mean, it's like a drug. You just have your mind opened up, you know?
Yeah. I love glass. And I think that's it. You know, the new never stops in glass if you don't want it to. You can always find a new
It's about
technique.
how much you want to innovate. Exactly right. It's about how much, like I said, you can either be the craftsman or the artist. And there's a big, I want to say, separation between the two. And there's nothing wrong with either of the two, but I'm saying like you could either stay that production route or go a route where you're, you know, you're innovating and constantly finding a new joy within your work, you know, and those are the ways that I see, you know, that's what shows you who's an artist and who's a craftsman in a sense, you know?
Yeah. And the world needs both of them, I think. So it's really neat.
Absolutely, man. I mean, let's put it this way. This is a glass pipe industry, and there's a heady market, there's a production market. There's a scientific market. There's now beer glasses and cups. I see Huffy Glass, almost like I never seen before, coming out with a borosilicate cup market, like, and like just like there's terps for our hashes, now there's heady beers. I mean, what's going to be next for glass? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like the glass has a unified use throughout. We're always going to be using it.
Absolutely.
And innovative ways to use glass is always coming. I mean, every time I turn around, I see something like, look at this, like people are, it's unbelievable what artists and scientific workers. I mean, I watch Merge Scientific a lot. Like, I like a lot of different things that I don't know how to do on glass. I love following online, like people that are doing big scientific work or huge sculptural work and things that I don't do all the time. I love watching that because I don't know how to do it. It's appealing. It's entertaining,
And you can almost you don't know how to do it. You can't do it. And it's trying to figure out how could they have done it? And then how could I maybe try to figure that into my little thing?
Right. It's really, really unique, man. Just the skill set that people have come across nowadays, and really unique on, just what people are making, the motif people are running across their art is just awesome.
Yeah. It's an exciting time to be a part of this industry. That's for sure.
Yeah. And just in general, I mean, whether you're involved in the cannabis industry, the glass industry, gems and crystals and minerals, other types of artwork, whatever it is, like all these industries are up and coming and merging, they're coming together.
I mean, they're shooting people into space like they've never done before. So the whole world is just
right. And like with technology innovating the way it is, who knows, they won't need like a piece of glass that goes into a certain piece of technology to make something run a certain way, and need a lot of them, or like there's so many things that could potentially happen for the glass world that hasn't even been seen or thought of yet, and that's for us as innovators to think about and try to figure out.
And it actually is happening. I got really lucky to work with the scientific glass community, and had these guys come down, and they were talking about this thing they're working. It's a $10,000 piece of glass, only about like this big, and
battery exhausted, it says.
You can hear me, so we're going to keep recording because we don't need to see me. And anyways, I think we're kind of done. I was just going to talk about this piece of glass they're working on, and it is scientific, and it's something where they're doing like the fly, where they're able to take a piece of metal and move it with light from one position to another position.
Right.
All in a piece of glass and light, but it's moving metal through the air in light. It's fucking crazy.
It sounds wild. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah. So I guess we just kind of ran out. Here I'm back, I guess, a little bit.
Yep. No, there you go. I see you now.
But I think we are to the end here, and I just want to say, what's the best ways that we can follow you and look out for you? Is it Instagram? Do you have a web page?
Yeah, so Instagram right now. I'm going to be building a website this year. So there's going to be just like my own website to get apparel from, to different events that I'm going to be included in. I'm going to be posting about newsletters, sales that I'm going to drop, items that I'm going to drop on it, things like that. Lots of different stuff that's going to be going down with that this year. And Instagram right now, anybody who wants to ever give me a message to talk glass, or, just inquire on my glass, or just talk as cannabis community. Like, that's pretty much how I've always worked my page. And I love all the people I've met through it. So even this whole thing, man, I really appreciate you having me on the show today. And
I feel selfish from it. It's like I'm winning getting to talk to you, and this whole thing. It's like, so yeah.
I feel the same way. I mean, it's a reciprocation. That's what I mean. It's like, I feel it feels recognition feels really nice in humanity, no matter what type of recognition it is. So
you're right.
Having you reach out to me to want to do something like this makes me want to go into the studio and try even harder. It's all it makes me want to do, man. So I appreciate you reaching out, having me on this, and getting to meet you. And I'm not sure exactly where you're from, but maybe we get to cross paths.
Colorado Springs, baby. So we'll meet up sometime. We're in the same little state. So
Definitely, man. Not too far. We're a couple hours, 2.5, 3 hours away from each other. I'm up north, you're down south.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So just keep in touch. And, now that we've connected online, we've done this. Just if you ever are in the northern Colorado area and you want to come up to this area, it's really beautiful. And I know there's a few shops down there, and what is it? Evan from Bear Mountain Studios is down there. There's a lot of there's a big scene down in Colorado Springs. So I got to make my way down there too.
Oh yeah. Well, Evan or Elliot, it was great having you on here, EBox. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Have yourself a great day and much love.
Whoa, hanging out there with EBox was super awesome. I loved it. I felt like we had a really great connection. I'm really excited about, doing some kind of collab with them. And, that was cool. I want to throw it out there really quickly. Don't forget, we got Elev8 Veterans. It's our 501c3 nonprofit, and we got Elev8 Dolls. Elev8 Veterans is a really cool thing we have to rehabilitate and reacclimate war veterans into society. We got Teresa that really has been putting in a lot of work. We're hitting on 2 years that we've done it, so check it out. And then for our brand ambassador program, we have Elev8 Dolls, which is not just for girls, but guys can join as well. Anyways, you get credits to the store, you get to put smiles on other women's faces and men's faces, and it's a lot of cool stuff. Anyways, Elev8, mind, body, spirit.